Hey, good evening, everybody. Al Puglisi from Al Puglisi Trains. Tonight's promise episode is the final installation of Howard Zane building this incredible O-scale high rail passenger station. This is the final video on this. We started about 4 videos ago on the channel with Howard making the walls, weathering the walls. And tonight will be the final video. As you can see, the model has grown from about 2 by 2 feet to now she's about 8 feet long by 2 feet wide, and I'm going to walk around this model. But before we do that, let's talk to Howard over here. Howard, how are you tonight?
Good evening, Al. Hi, folks.
And we're showing the completed model. How this took quite a bit of time, Howard, I guess.
Yeah, it did, but I figured that. I call it Station Zilla because it's the biggest thing I've ever done. Usually, most of my work's in HO scale, and this thing was a challenge.
Right.
Because I use nothing modern. I'm a dinosaur, and I'm proud of it. Over here,
let's look at what you did use.
This is what I use.
Oh my goodness.
A straight edge and a ruler.
Okay.
That's number 1. A knife, number 11 blade.
Okay.
A clipper.
Beautiful.
And a tube of glue.
Yeah, quite a few tubes.
90% of it right there. So any of you model builders think you need a laser or anything fancy, forget about it.
Right.
That's not true.
And we talked about glue. Glue's my favorite glue. I learned that from you back in the 70s because if you make a mistake, it's easy to pry it loose.
Always change glue. It holds it beautifully. And actually, everything I've ever built, including rolling stock, is made out of glue.
Right, and it lasts virtually forever.
Yes,
and,
it does. And
another thing, folks, I'll show you real quick is when we were installing the roof, some of these little pylons walked a little bit, and with glue, all you got to do is just pry them loose and reposition them.
That's correct.
Instead of breaking the thing apart. If we had used epoxy or acetane glue, it would have been a nightmare. And I'm going to attempt to walk around this, folks. Again,
it's a little bit about the station now.
Okay, I'll let you go around.
I built this for a customer, Mel Shapiro.
Okay.
Out in Colorado. And I built this whole layout. It took about 3 years, 2 or 3 trips a year. I built all the parts here, structures and so forth, components. And we'll drive out to the boulders, I said 3 times a year, and stay over. And unfortunately, when we finished the layout, Mel became ill, and he just didn't have time to play with it.
Wow.
This was one of the stations. This is the station I built for it. This was the station before we installed it.
Okay.
Now this is the station as they pulled it out. Now, apparently this customer I have from California, who seems like a real nice guy, saw this somewhere, and this was taken up by Colorado O-scalers, and they took the layout down.
Right.
So he saw this. These lines here were drawn by the customer because he wanted the tracks and the platforms extended.
Okay.
The original platforms were like here. They were abbreviated because we didn't have any space.
Okay.
This layout, even though it is O gauge, was only 50 feet by 10 feet.
Okay, so it wasn't a huge layout.
No, everything was compromised.
Wow.
I went to the buildings were full scale because he wanted full scale buildings, so I used no selective compression.
Wow.
But it worked out pretty well.
Well, let's see. Let's look at some of the paints over here that we used. We didn't use real fancy paints on this thing.
Oh, no. This over here is the weathering for all the woodwork. I use Rick Hunter, his stains, medium brown. This was the basic color for the station.
That's Krylon.
Satin.
What? Satin?
Anything can be grayed down.
Right.
This over here is the lower part. This is just gray primer. Also Krylon. Krylon's a better deal. If you get the small paints like Tamaya and so forth in the little cans, I mean, I could be on the desert for a month. Right. Dying of thirst. And all of a sudden, I see one of these cans in front of me, and I could actually piss more than comes out of those cans.
Right. You'd wind
terrible.
up.
It's expensive.
Right.
They're good, but it's a terrible value.
Right.
I recommend Krylon.
Right. You get a big container of it.
Plus, they have a much better selection.
And folks, I mean, all you got to do is look at the cap, and you can pretty much tell the color.
Oh, yeah. This over here, this is what I used on the roof. Krylon primer.
That's a primer, red primer.
Red primer.
Yeah.
You can see it on the roof.
It's not rocket science.
No, not really.
But it is what it is.
Yeah.
And then on the walls, well, we're going to walk around the walls.
Yeah, just ask questions as you go around.
These stone walls are from Scenic Express, I think. Aren't they Chooch? Or are they Chooch?
Well, originally they were designed by Featherlight.
Okay.
They were sold to Chooch, and then somehow Scenic Express picked up the manufacturer. Somehow, some kind of a deal there. But they are available through Scenic Express.
Wow.
They have rigid and non-rigid.
Okay.
And this is a combination of both. It's all. I used what I could find.
Right. And then you used actual strip wood for the planking.
Oh yeah, well yeah, everything else is wood. Now the original station that I showed you the photograph, that was built out of styrene.
Okay.
I like wood better. Plus this is super braced and I can do a much better job. Wood is not quite as flexible as styrene.
Right. All right, folks. I'm going to try and bear with me. The thing is so big. I'm going to try and just walk around this thing gently so you can get an idea of the enormity of it. And again, it's about 2 feet long by about 8 feet. And Howard, you put this thing on a piece of gator foam that was what, a half-inch gator foam?
Half-inch by 8 feet.
Okay, half-inch by 8 feet, cut
because
down.
There's no way. You and I put this thing together last night.
Right.
So you know how difficult that was.
Right.
There was no way in hell the client could have done this.
Right.
As you know. So it's one piece. I guess the weight's around 60 pounds, but 4 of us can carry it.
Okay.
And this will be shipped in a pod out to California.
Right. And on these roofs here, you added extra strength by putting these...
By putting the Clerestory in the top. In
right.
The center, top
right.
Center.
And then you shot it with some dull coat just to dull it down a bit. And then you're going to weather it a little bit more with some pastels.
That's up to the client. He's going to see the photographs and then decide if he wants additional weathering. Now, the structure itself is weathered.
Right.
You can see it. It's done with India ink and alcohol and also some pastel.
And on the prior episodes, folks, when you watch, there's 3 other episodes on the build of this. You can see Howard made the shingles out of strips of construction paper, cut, dry brushed with a white dry brushing. Let's get back and let me come down here. And
now this building, both levels are actually lit.
Okay, both are lit. All right, and I'm going to pan.
14 volts. Get it fired up.
I'm going to just pan across here. Here's the bottom floor, the beautiful entranceway.
Now the bottom has a full interior also. It's got a ticket booth, signs, and so forth.
All right.
And the upper, of course, does the same. Upper level.
Oh yeah, we're going to try and get a shot of that. And the ornate work on the entrances. And then that beautiful stairway on the side here, the complex stairway. That's really well done. Let's pan back and back and back. And I'm going to go right down the side here. And just do this. Go down one side of this to the end. Do an aerial view.
Now this is going to California, so I found a high rail. Actually, it's not high rail, it's scale. It's an Overland engine, 462 Union Pacific.
That's that beautiful engine staring us in the face.
Yeah, it's the 2906. I think it was one of a kind.
Oh, come down and look at it. And this cupola is one of those your signature cupolas on the top.
Well, I like cupolas.
You scratch built the chimneys.
Oh yeah, can't buy them anyway.
Right.
The only thing that's not scratch built are the little vents. They're from Rick's products.
All right. Oh, what a view that is, folks. I'm going to pan back. Howard's about 12 feet away from me, believe it or not.
You got me in the picture?
Yep. You look like a little man compared to the size of this thing.
I'm getting smaller. I'm shrinking. No longer 6'2".
All right. Let's shoot inside this thing. Wow.
Those bumpers are from Atlas.
Atlas bumpers. Okay. Wow. Looking on the inside. Let's go down to the bottom level. Let's get it back from the bottom level. Let's go back this way. Let's pan back at an angle.
Now, Mike, can you hear me okay now?
Oh, I think so.
I should mention it's not perfect, but then again, nothing in life is perfect.
Right.
Things don't line up exactly and so forth.
Right.
But the tracks line up, and you get things in and out. I mean, This is the largest thing I ever attempted. If I built 3 more of these, I might have it perfect.
Right. Well, it looks
I'm not gonna do
beautiful.
it again. That's twice is enough.
These corbels are gorgeous.
Yeah, that company's out of business, unfortunately.
These are metal corbels. Look how
They are metal.
very ornate, beautiful. And there's a little bit of weathering at the bottom of each corbel, which is normal. And it adds a tremendous amount of realism to it. And I'm going to pan around this way. And I'm going to try just a big, big building. And then I'll come around and we'll talk to Howard a little bit more. I want to take a look at that locomotive.
I got paint on the side of it.
Yeah.
Then again, so with the prototype, you scratch.
All right, I'm going to pan back this way. All right, Howard. Now, what this locomotive was? What again?
It's an Overland built by Ogden. That's about 20 years old.
Oh my goodness.
It's the 2906. They also did it in HO scale.
This is a O scale locomotive.
That's O scale.
Right, not a high rail.
No, but it still works. Doesn't make any difference.
Wow, it's beautiful. It's brass?
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Al, this is me. I'm not going to have any
yes.
plastic in here.
Yes. It's a beautiful paint job on this.
Well, I actually scratched it. I forgot how I got that thing. Probably a trade-in on something.
Now,
I have about probably 30 or 40 O-gauge and O-scale locomotives in my collection.
let's talk about the roofs. So what happened was to make the roofs more sturdy.
There was two. The original one was only like 8 inches long because it was abbreviated because of the space problem. Now, when I made these things this long,
right,
there was not enough support.
So you added these center braces.
I added the center brace, which was the cupola.
Yep.
And what that is HO scale roof car,
Oh,
boxcar
goodness.
roofing.
Well, you'd never know it looking at
No,
it.
you can't tell.
Well, folks, there's going to be many more models to come in O scale. This is very exciting.
We got about 12 more, actually. And guess who's going to help me build them?
Who?
Al Puglisi.
Yes, very good.
My new assistant.
Good, good. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. This thing.
You're a damn good modeler, so I'll probably learn from you.
No, I'm learning
when
from
I
you.
had my business, I had 35 employees, and let me tell you something. I learned so much from them. And it's just amazing. I'm still good friends, every one of them.
Wow, that's something to say. Yeah. Well, Howard, I've known you since I was 17 years old, and you're going to teach me. You're going to get any bad habits I have, you will crush.
Well, you probably picked some of mine up too.
Quite quickly. But yeah, we had a blast, folks, last night putting this thing together. It was built in 3 different sections. Let me kind of show you. Actually, more than 3 sections.
No, it's 3 sections.
3 sections.
It was the station, the center part, and the end.
Right. The center part here was a section broken right at that seam here. And then there was the middle section. And then there was the final section.
Just been measured. I'll be able to get this out the door. But it's going to take, they said, 4 people to move this.
And it was quite challenging to put all the sections together, but doing that made it much more sturdy. All the freight cars and everything roll right in with no problems. There's Coke machines, there's people, there's all kinds of detail.
Well, it's not that many people. I'm going to leave that to the customer because he may have his own taste in that.
Right.
He may want to use artista figures. You got to remember, I'm not an O-scale, even though I have a lot of O-scale stuff. Right. And ironically, all my buildings in the last couple of years has been O-scale.
Yeah, it seems like that's a very popular thing.
When I say O-scale, it's actually I build nothing for an O-scale pike, but they're for O-gauge pikes, but they're scale. Now, a lot of people don't realize this, and I'll go over that. Very simple. O-gauge is 3 rail, O-scale is 2 rail.
Right.
That's the only difference. Plus the radius.
Right. So any of you high rail people out there, I'm going to be growing the channel with high rail. Any of you high rail people out there that want these quality structures, these one of a kind, contact us. Because these things that just make your layout, they just...
Well, high rail is actually the blending of both. It's the blending of O-gauge, 3 rail track, and scale. equipment.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff coming in now, like MTH and Lionel and so forth, even Weaver. I don't know if Weaver's still doing business.
Oh,
and a few others, the notables, are beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a brass nut, but then again, credit where credit's due.
Right. And, I mean, folks, you see the third rail there, but it's blacked out, you know, and doesn't...
I can't tell.
Can't tell.
That was the customer's request, was the 3-rail. That's fine. It looks just as good. He's going to put his passenger cars on here.
And it holds quite a few. Well, Howard, I really appreciate this. And folks, in upcoming episodes, we're going to have... Now, we haven't decided what the next structure is going to be.
Well, it's up to the customer.
Okay. And we will chronicle that and many other structures. And if you like what you see, please hit the subscription button because it helps tremendously. The more subscribers I get,
and
the more...
Also, folks, ask questions because there's a lot of stuff we may be able to help you with.
Right.
And then again, you may be able to help us.
Right.
It works both ways.
Right, absolutely. So go ahead and do that. And if you want to contact me, alpug1@verizon.net. And I have a link on the website, zanesstructures.com, all on the website. Folks, I really appreciate you watching the video, and thanks so much, Howard.
Hey, thank you, Al. Look forward to seeing it.